Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here on the Coaching Summit Day 2. And we're on the final stretch now, which is amazing. And we have up our next speaker is Marsha Cox. And Marsha is here for us today. And she is recognizing and recovering from burnout, finding joy and purpose through coaching. So thank you so much for that, Marsha, for being with us
That's
here
okay.
today. Just as a reminder, all of our sessions enable you to put on the captions. If you need to do that, you can do that now. So thank you so much. Marsha, I'm going to hand over to you and I look forward to the rest of this session with you.
Thanks very much, Shelley, and thanks for all your help all the way through. You're going to need a gin and tonic by the end of the 2 days, and put your feet up. You've done a great job. Thank you. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Really happy to be here, and thank you for being here despite the fact that you might be needing to be going down to the village hall with your vote if you're in the UK. So I do appreciate that. I'm excited and honoured to be part of the Coaching Summit this year, and I'm an advocate for the book Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, so I do think maybe today I am walking the walk. I've enjoyed watching the sessions over the last 2 days and hope you have too. And today's session is really close to my heart and my own personal experiences. If you crave to live a life of joy and purpose, my uplifting session will leave you feeling amazed at the hidden beauty of burnout, demonstrating how you can live your best life after a period of trauma or change. So after the session, you'll receive some freebies from me. You'll receive access to my newsletter, a great resilience wheel coaching tool, and you'll also receive access to 60 minutes of coaching with me per person. There are website links on all of my slides as you go through, but at the end there will be a slide for my contact information, so you can grab that. And Shelley very kindly is going to put some notes in the chat for me of things that I refer to as I go through the session today. One last reminder, if you could keep your mics turned off for the duration of the session, but I encourage you to ask questions. You can ask questions throughout the session through the chat, or there is going to be a slide at the end if I haven't run over, and you can ask questions there as well. So thank you for joining me. And if I keep turning my head slightly to the right, it's because my notes are on another screen, and when I practice, they were the other way around. There's always a techie thing in these sessions, so I hope that's not too distracting for you. Okay, so let's get started. So my name is Marsha Cox, and I give myself the title of social entrepreneur. I live a very busy but fairly balanced life in sunny Devon, and it's quite sunny today. I have 2 beautiful daughters and a little very cheeky Shih Tzu, who you can see on the photo there. And I'm very lucky to have what some people have today, which they call very nicely a portfolio career. And this really enables me to live my life of joy and purpose, and it helps me live in line with all my values. So just running through, I'm an executive coach and mentor, and I run that through my business Potential. I coach people that are purpose-driven individuals, charity leaders, social entrepreneurs, but also small business startups and anybody else. Although I might have a niche, I open my doors to anybody who feels that feel they would like to work with me. I'm a founder and MD of a charity consultancy called MMC, which I set up about 11 years ago. And I'm a director for a company which is a community development social enterprise called Love Community CIC. All of this takes place very excitedly above a record store in Newton Abbot, which I co-own with my husband. So I'm upstairs doing all the very intricate work, and I'm stamping on the floor telling him to turn the bloody music down most of the time, but it's great. I'm very lucky to be where I'm at. So I'm very passionate about positive mental health, growth and recovery. And I really enjoy focusing on my CPD. And I think that's a really important part of being a coach and a mentor, is that you don't do your training and then stop. You look outside and see where else you'd like to do some training. And I've heard a lot about that through the sessions the last 2 days. So my memberships you can see at the bottom of the screen. So let's get started. A question for you to start with. Just really interested to know what drew you to this session. What, in just maybe 3 words, what drew you to the session? And maybe what is your role? Are you a coach, or are you somebody who'd like to see how coaching can help you? be interesting just to kind of get a sense of who's in the room today. If you could just put a few comments in the chat. And I know Shelley, you'll be very kindly share some of those with us. That'd be great.
No problem. We have a coach, previously had burnout,
Okay.
recovering from burnout myself,
Okay.
work in HR and do my coaching apprenticeship, burnout, just started as a coach after burnout. Oh, they're all flying in now.
Interesting. So there's quite a few people in the room that's experienced it. So this is probably a really good picture for you, because this is about when you're kind of coming out of burnout, what happens at the other end, or what could happen at the other end, and it's about building resilience. So that's really good to hear those people. This session will help people who are both coaches, people who want coaching. So it's not kind of just set for one audience. So that's really good to hear. Thank you. That's great. So, as I said at the beginning today, I will cover 3 sort of key areas in this talk. One is about recognising the signs of burnout. When I talk about that, it's about recognising the signs of it in yourself, but also it's really useful to recognise it in others. Challenging your assumptions that actually burnout isn't just a negative experience. I think it gets quite a lot of bad rap. I've heard the word a lot over the last 2 days because it's such a big issue in our society, and I'll share some stats with you in a minute. But I think it's really important, and that's why I'm driven to do this talk, is that actually there's a real silver lining within it as well. And so thirdly, I'm going to focus on the importance of joy and purpose that can be found through your experiences of burnout, and also how to help you sort of build your resilience. Okay, thank you. So just taking a step back to start with and thinking about the size of the issue. So I did some research and found some stats here just around, burnout in the UK, especially within sort of employment and careers. So, these stats demonstrate that there's a common problem in the UK, and I think really in the Western world, facing us around stress. And the key stat that jumped out for me here really was that there's this growing trend, which we all know as well, that young people are experiencing stress, often at a younger age. I think 30% of older people reported never feeling overwhelmed due to stress, but that's compared just to 7% of young adults. So, we have a role here and a responsibility to kind of make sure that the conversations about stress and overwhelm, and also about values and what drives people in a positive way is given to our young people. There's some other stats here from Mental Health First Aid, and if you haven't heard of it, which I'm sure you have, it's an amazing not-for-profit organisation whose mission is to make sure that the society can thrive, and they believe in zero stigma surrounding mental health. Their mission is to train 1 in 10 people in mental health awareness and skills, and I would advocate their training very much. I provided this training when I was working at Mind, and that really helped us, that our staff work with people sort of on the front line. So interesting, again, looking through the stats, I think the one that jumped out at me, the one there that you can see in the middle, that, the recent report, which is really quite shocking, is that almost half of the UK workforce says that they're now running on empty, with burnout and mental health costing the economy £28 million. And that's all well and good, but what that leads me to ask, the next question is, what is the true cost? What's the ripple effect of that on other people around, the people that are feeling, this pressure? They've all got families, they all live in a community. What's the proper real cost to us? So just going to have a little bit of an interactive bit shortly about what does burnout feel like. Just check I've jumped the right one. Yes, that's one. So first of all, I'm just going to talk a little bit about sort of my own experience, really, just to give you a bit of feedback about kind of what brought me to where I am and my experiences with it. So burnout can come from a range of significant life experiences, but it isn't essential. It can kind of develop and grow during, everyday life, if you like. So 25 years ago, I was qualified as a hotel manager. I was running a 240 bedroom hotel down in Bournemouth. I was working multiple split shifts and spending late nights at nightclubs and bars, and just basically kind of doing that, burning the candle at both ends. And I think on the back of that, looking back at that time, I hadn't explored at that point through school or with my peers who I really was. And so I ended up feeling like a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde character. You know, I'd rock up at work being very professional and had loads of responsibility, but just really, you know, really didn't know who I was. And it, you know, after a while, after the years went by, it sort of had a quite a profound effect on me. The wheels came off and I ended up in hospital with an alcoholic seizure. Again, it was about sort of 24, 25. And it was kind of, I wouldn't stop. So the situation meant that I had to stop. I was in a lot of debt and a lot of physical and mental health issues. I hadn't looked after myself, and so I wasn't able to sort of maintain my job as well. So, you know, once the wheels came off, they truly came off. So I lost the job, the flat, to move back in with the parents for a period of time, and life kind of, you know, just kind of folded really in front of my eyes. And what happened for me at that point is I started a life of recovery. I found that I was really drawn when I started I went to a 12-step program, and I really was drawn into working in mental health. And so I was really lucky to be able to start working for the mind. And over the years, I sort of built that up and became a CEO, which was an amazing sort of privilege to do that work. Later on, I set up my charity consultancy, and you can see kind of where I'm at now is kind of that for me, like a full circle, that I worked with people on the front line. I'd had my own experiences, but I was so passionate about it at that point that I just wanted to kind of help others. And by running a charity consultancy, we can help so many more people because we're working with so many more charities. And I feel really passionate that this is actually my calling and my purpose in life. I'm also going to share something a bit more closer to my heart, which I know Shelley's aware of. But so I'm going to fast forward to a month ago, and this was probably the second biggest traumatic experience of my life. So a month ago today, actually, my father passed away. And when the acute emotion of that situation sort of passed, I asked myself, and I met up with Jo, who's one of the coaching tutors, she's an amazing coach tutor at In Good Company. And I said, can I do this today? And we had a really good conversation, and it was strange because she reminded me that I wrote this session quite a few months ago now, and I didn't know what I knew now, and I just felt, you know, the whole thing of synchronicity and living a life of flow, even to the date, it's strange. I just think it's really important that I'm in the room today. And I wanted to share this story so that somebody else who's in the room today might need to hear it. So looking back, I think I am much more equipped from this situation that I've just gone through to where I was, you know, years ago. And the way that I know that I'm well equipped is because I've threaded my life all through that time with tools around recovery, resilience, and positive mental health. I'm much more able to manage my emotional well-being and show up for others. And I just wanted to say that if my story today has touched anybody in the room, just to let you know that you're not alone and that there is hope at the end of the tunnel. So moving on to my coaching clients' experience, I do hear a lot of what people say when they come to coaching with me. So I would just share that here. So it's very powerful for somebody to kind of admit that they need support. And some of these statements here that you can see are from people that have had coaching with me. And yeah, I feel there's this whole thing about disconnect with burnout. I feel that there's this moment where everything's so big, it's really difficult to kind of, what I use the term due north quite a lot. You know, where's my due north? Am I back to where I should be? And a lot of people also say to me that sometimes they feel really disconnected from the way they're living their lives. So, you know, maybe they feel like life is living them or leading them, and that they're not in the driving seat. And again, I think that's the power of coaching. Why I was drawn to this industry really is that there's no other specialism like coaching, which really enables people to be present and look forward and to make those actionable steps in order to kind of put you back in the driving seat and to give you your life back. And I'm really passionate about how that can help people. So over to you. I'm going to ask you in the chat just to have a little think about kind of what do you think the signs of burnout are? So obviously we've got people in the room that have experienced this situation and experienced the feelings, and there might be people that have been around others that have had this happen to them. So it'd be really good just to spend a few moments, give you a few moments quiet, just to reflect on what that looks like for you.
Okay, so we have Pip, overthinking and disturbed sleep.
Hmm.
Christina, more frequent illness, simple colds and coughs. Steve, fog and exhaustion.
Hmm.
Janet, irritability, lethargy, headaches, tiredness, worthlessness. Christina, feeling of detachment. Chloe, disconnection, loss of interest in anything, no energy, flat, like I'm ill all the time.
Hmm.
Anxiety, lack of confidence, trouble sleeping, overthinking from Donna. Disassociation from
Yeah,
Dawn.
another one. Yeah.
Mimi, everything seems massive and out of control.
And that's that losing control, that feeling that you're not in control, and that actually leads to then triggers the anxiety. So it's kind of like it gets its own momentum, because if you don't feel like you're in control, then your anxiety shoots up, and it's very difficult to kind of get out of that cycle.
There's quite a few saying brain fog as well and lack of
Yeah.
interest.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. Thank you so much for being really open with that, and exactly that those are, you've talked through all of those things. So these are just some of the signs of burnout. And you don't have to use the chat for this bit unless you want to, but obviously again you have spoken about that you've experienced some of these yourself. But have you recognized this maybe with people in the workplace, or the people, or is there somebody that you know now that you think might be experiencing it but don't know what it is? That's part of it with mental health. You don't always know what's going on, and people don't always talk to each other. But if you want to put that in the chat, we read it and have a read the slides. The main part is the growing emotional, mental and or physical exhaustion that isn't alleviated by rest. So it's feeling, as the people have said in the chat, it's feeling really, really exhausted, getting a good night's sleep maybe, but still feeling exhausted the next day, or having a disturbed night's sleep, which again impacts and creates that sort of circular situation really. Physical ailments, somebody mentioned as well, it's not just a mental health thing, it's a whole body thing. So the physical ailments, it can show up in people with chronic fatigue or ME. Overuse of alcohol and other substances, including food. So I've worked with people where that's been an issue for them, and it's that kind of self-medication, trying to get rid of the feelings, rather than being able to get through the feelings. Increasing sense of being cut off from ourselves, isolation anxiety, and decreasing ability to be effective at things that were normal and day to day. Are there any comments in the chat, Shelley, that you'd like to read out? I know I can see the screen popping, but I can't see some of the comments.
Yeah, sure. So Lillian, completely lost my passion and hated my work all too much, became cynical. Kath has shared, I hid it really well, so it came as a huge surprise to others when I crashed.
Yeah.
And then Karen, from a healthcare background, coach for years and totally took me by surprise. Can see in others, but couldn't see it in myself.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, interesting, because you do get a lot of people within services, so nurses and people working kind of on the front, again, mental health, there's a lot of people that are working in those roles that you think kind of, that this is kind of, how I've got to deal with it, but actually, they're the ones that just need to get on, and we're very good in this country at just getting on, and it's just not the way to kind of deal with it really. So we've kind of talked about experiences, we've talked about what it feels like to have burnout, and I've talked personally about two different examples of feeling it and not having the tools, and feeling it and having the tools. And so the next bit is about the silver lining. So it's not all doom and gloom for the next slide. So the next slide is about, as Tina Turner would sing, what has joy got to do with it? So joy has everything to do with it. So it's really, really important to remember that burnout forces us to take a step forward towards joy. If we won't stop, then we get stopped. And joy emerges in the space and rather than the content of our life. In the space we can experience through burnout, we can truly feel again. We can develop a new, greater sense of the love of life itself. I think that is really powerful, because sometimes when we're living even a good life, we can be trying to think about what we want to give us joy. That will give me joy. Like, But sometimes that can almost be part of the issue. So what I love about these statements is that it's the space. Without having the space, which is what burnout brings in a very, very acute way, it's very difficult to really truly experience pure joy, during your lifetime. So have a few moments to think about what truly brings you joy, what lights you up, and just have a think through those activities. And if you can, if you think of something at the top of your head comes to you, just go a little bit deeper, invite you to peel back a little bit deeper and to think a bit more, and what else, and what else, until you get to the really simple things that give you joy. And I'll give you a few minutes to have a think about that, and as they come through, I'll ask Shelley to feedback.
Okay, so we have helping people and proofreading documents.
Great, what lights you up?
Got Kath says being outside.
Yeah,
Lillian, creativity, connecting, and nature.
yeah.
Sue, writing poetry and walking by the coast. One of my favourite things to do as well.
Yeah. And the writing poetry is really interesting because it's that digging deeper, and it's kind of engaging with that part of the brain that, isn't the leader all the time. You're kind of really digging down then into deeper level.
Oh, we have Sarah. I'm a massive fan of finding joy in the little moments every day.
Well done. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And I think that's the trick. It's every day has joy, and unless we stop and think about the day in itself. Even this morning walking the dog, I live on an estate, it's not the most salubrious estate, so kind of go through the little walkway and hope there's no mattresses that have been left overnight sometimes. One of my pet hates, but yeah, just walking through those trees and sort of rising my gaze, so I'm actually looking up into the trees and I can hear the birds and I can see the squirrels. It's kind of, even if you're living in a situation, a lot of people they're living in really difficult housing, they're living in places that are hard to go out and find that nature, and life isn't perfect. So sometimes we've got to be creative and kind of go to those places and make that slightly other effort to get to that place. It could be the garden, could be lots of things. So that's really good. So one of the things I wanted to share with you as well is it's kind of how I work with clients around this. So I can sometimes create joy boards, which is like a vision board, but I encourage them to write joy in the middle and to use pens and colours and stickers and whatever they want, just to create a joy board that they can kind of put in their room, in their office, and they've all take a photo of it on their phone, and they can kind of refer to that, because we forget as well when we're really busy. That's probably the last thing you'll think about when you're trying to get that last email in or deal with the meeting. So I think there's one or two more comments before I move the slides on, Shelley. And that, oh no, it's a waiting. Somebody's coming the way through, and that's fine. Okay, great. So be inquisitive. I would really encourage you as well to read about this topic, and there's some books here. You might know these books, it might be familiar for you, but the one I would get if you are really drawn to this topic and to this session is the Joy of Burnout by Dr. Dina Gluberman, and she was a therapist for Sue Townsend, who wrote the Adrian Mole books. Sue Townsend had her own breakdown and was very public about, right back in those days when nobody really talked about mental health. And between them, they kind of worked together for many, many years and set up a retreat in Cyprus over in Greece, which was a wellbeing retreat. It's an amazing book. It talks about the burnout causes, but it also reflects on something else, which is a really interesting bit I haven't got time to go into today, but it's about people burn out not because just that they're busy and that they'll be given lots of things to do. They get burnout when they're not recognised or fulfilled. So you can be in a workplace in a very high functioning executive job, doing a really good job, but if what you're doing isn't kind of fulfilling for you, it's maybe because people aren't recognizing your true worth and value, and all of that is a really interesting element of burnout. It's not just about the level of productivity. There's lots of other books and podcasts. Talk to your friends. You know, if this is a subject you're interested in, there's so much more out there than there was years ago. So it's to be inquisitive. And like I said, there'll be some information in the chat for you. Okay, so just keeping an eye on the time. The time does go quick. Everybody said that, so try not to go too far. So this subject, post-traumatic growth. So this, before we talk about living a life of purpose, I just want to talk a little bit about this. So in the mid-1990s, the term post-traumatic growth was coined by Ted Shee and Calhoun, and it was defined as a positive psychological changes experienced as a result of the struggle with traumatic or highly challenging life circumstances. To put it really, really simply, this talks about a person who's experienced trauma, but that returned to a different state and higher level of functioning rather than the same level they were on before. And to me, that's quite fascinating, that there can be a change in perception of self. There can be a change in spirituality, priorities, and relationships with others, a whole change of philosophy in life, and a deeper appreciation for life itself. And this then can lead to a new sense of life direction, opportunities, and purpose. And again, you've probably heard a lot in the last 2 days about living a life of purpose when it relates to your core values. So core values run through a lot of things in coaching, but actually I think it should run all the way from first school all the way through everything we do. So unless you know what your core values are, it's very difficult to build that life that is fulfilling and full of joy and is authentic to yourself. And that's really, really important. So I had a picture on my phone that I gave my teenage daughter, and it was really good. It said, if in life, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And it was all about values. It had all the values listed underneath. And I thought that's great. You know, it's that important. If we don't know, you know, what drives us inside, then we'll get drawn into lots of other things. And when those things don't work, it can create that disconnect. So I believe it's not only values, but it is people's experiences and trauma that can lead to life changes. And I'll demonstrate this now. I'll put the slide on. So a little bit of reading here, but I just wanted to tell this story. So this story is a powerful example of transformation through a traumatic experience into a positive and huge global impact as a result of one young person's untimely and very sad death. So Piers and Luke Simon were very close brothers. They were 3 years and 2 months apart in age, and they grew up on a farm in Somerset. They enjoyed the farmland and they enjoyed sports together. And post-university, they worked together designing gardens until Luke embarked on a year's travel in 2003. During the trip, he secured a job teaching sport at an international school in northern Thailand. So in December 2004, while on a holiday, his brother Luke came over and visited with 3 friends. And unfortunately, Piers was tragically killed in the Indian Ocean tsunami on the island of Koh Phi Phi during that visit. And if you ever get to listen to this charity talk and give their experiences, there is not a sound in the room. Luke spent 5 days conducting the search for his brother, along with the help of family, friends, and the media, until they found Piers in December, the end of December. A donation appeal was set up at Pierce's funeral, and it raised £10,000. As the donation appeal gained even more impressive momentum, the funds were being wired to do a clean-up of the island, and it was decided that appeal then should turn into a charity. The charity was granted its charity number, and 4.5 years on, the funds had gone to disaster victims in 13 countries. The story doesn't stop there. So this awful thing's happened. They've set up an appeal. Lots of money have gone out for clearing up the island. But in 2019, they established School in a Bag, which is a new charity that took this initial work further. So how it works is you have a rucksack, which is filled with stationery, stainless steel eating equipment, school books, and other essentials. And initially, these bags are sent to children who are in a situation as this one. So it can be a disaster area. And the first thing that happens is they lose everything and they can't do their schoolwork. They can't move forward. They can't do any education, and everything's kind of gone. And what Luke decided to do was the most important thing, is that the first bit of getting back into normality was to have that bag. And so initially they set it up on that, but now they've widened it and they support countries all over the world that have been faced with war, famine, disease, and poverty. And each bag has a unique number, so you can donate to support a bag, and you can track where that bag is and the story of that person that has it. And up to date now from that situation, 148,000 bags have gone across 58 countries across the world. And I just think this is, as a story that I've heard lots of stories about why people set charities up and how you can turn something hugely traumatic into something positive. But this one took my breath away. And I just wanted to share it with you. So at the far end of doing something from something so awful into something so good is this one.
Sorry, I just wanted to pop in and just say
Yeah.
that Anne has actually shared that Luke and Piers are my friends. I packed bags for their
Oh,
charity at that annual
that's
music
brilliant.
festival just a
That's
few weeks ago.
brilliant. Yeah, they were Glastonbury. Oh, that I'm so pleased. So you can say that Marsha was in the room sharing their story as a real advocate for what they do. Thank you. And obviously, because of the nature of where I work and I see lots of people coming through wanting to set up charities, and I hear lots of stories, it's not just about kind of what can you do with a negative traumatic experience. There's things in that national press around changing the law. So as we know, the Stephen Lawrence, awful thing happened with Stephen Lawrence, fundamentally changed and turned British legal justice system on its head, and that's making such an impact now all these years on. And the same goes for Sarah's Law. Again, that awfully sad situation with the murder of Sarah's Law, but it shows that there's been 874 inquiries straight through into that charity that was set up, and 84 registered sex offenders have been taken out of situations with children. So I think it's been, you see the impact of these things is a massive. Other transformational movements come from situations of trauma, so the Me Too movement and the Black Lives Matter. And once you start to see the thread of this gold running through these stories, you won't ever not be able to see it. So when I put the telly on, there's one or two, every sort of few months something will have happened, whether it's a local level or whether it's a national level. You'll be able to, really pick up on these demonstrations of things that people do. So just a footnote, I'll just check my time. So just a footnote on this. There's always small print, and I think this is really useful to kind of give you the whole rounded picture. So when I did my IGC training, I learned about this term and I hadn't come across it before. So I'm a real optimist, and I know the power of positivity and things being made good from a difficult situation. But I was held back slightly and challenged, which I loved, and told to go and look up toxic positivity. So I looked it up, and really what this is all about is that well, there's much to gain. It's also important to remember that without doing the important work of dealing with grief, self-care and personal resilience, you can end up driving forward with something without having that underneath. It can have a real negative effect on people. So as shown here, toxic positivity in its essence is the excessive promotion of happiness and optimism in all situations, but with the caveat that it's dismissing genuine emotions. And that's the kind of warning flag. So it's really important to recognize and validate all emotions, and to promote the positive and the negative experiences. So it's not just saying, well, that happened, we're going to move on and do this. It's about going through that process and rebuilding and being drawn in the right way. And that I think that's just a really good way of kind of giving that rounded view and that balanced view about that to help sort of support people that might be in that situation. So I'm going to pause just for a second. So we're, as part of this session today, I thought obviously give you a tool that you can use. I thought what would be really useful and really nice to provide you with would be a resilience toolkit. So I'll just put the screen up. So basically, this is a resilience wheel. I don't know if you've seen this kind of thing before. It's a bit similar to the Wheel of Life, I guess, in some ways. And it's a practical framework that helps individuals understand and build resilience around 6 key areas of this subject in their lives. So the areas that you have, I know it's a bit small, sorry, but you will see it larger on the actual document. So the self-awareness, mindfulness, self-care, positive relationships, purpose and goals, and adaptability. And basically the whole toolkit takes you through, guides you through scoring on a scale of 1 to 10, how you feel, your kind of, and how full is your engine on these different elements of your life. You do that to start with, and then there's some practical guidance around giving you some ideas about how you can improve that and kind of get that score to increase. And it also gives you sort of an objective as well. So I'll just read the first one out as an example. So self-awareness. So the objective of increasing your self-awareness is that you will better understand your emotions, your strengths, and your weaknesses. So that's kind of what you want to get out of doing work around your sort of self-awareness. And one of the activities that it suggests is daily journaling. So that's encouraging you to keep a journal of your thoughts. I'll be completely honest, I love writing, but because I'm writing all day, every day with my job, I struggle to journal on a regular basis. But once I spoke to my supervisor about it, she said, even if you pick up and you write down a specific point, whether you're having a really good day or a really bad day, it doesn't have to be every day. And ever since that sort of conversation, it's really helped me. Because I think for me, the pressure of daily journaling was kind of making it less about joy and more about kind of just having to get that done. So whatever works for you is good. Mindfulness, the objective would be to stay present and manage stress. And an activity around that would be, again, I've seen some beautiful meditation techniques in these sessions. So introducing and encouraging you to use those techniques on a regular basis. So you'd go through, there's some pages, so you can do your starting scores, and then you can say, well, I'm going to do my finishing scores in a month, or no, actually might do it in a week. It depends how you want to do it. You can photocopy some of these sheets. And there's other bits and pieces that will support that journey. But the encouragement really is that for me, to encourage to practice resilience daily is really important. It doesn't have to be the same thing, as I said, every day. It doesn't have to be writing every day. It needs to be something out of this kind of these quadrants that will be really easy to fit into your day-to-day life, because really you're not doing it as an assignment. You're doing it to form new habits and for it to become a way of life, because that's how it works. So it's very difficult to wake up one day and say, tomorrow I'm going to be much more resilient because I've done all this week. It's really, we talked at the beginning about, bringing joy and the dog walks and people talking about, being out in nature. So it's making sure you prioritize those things above everything else in the day, because without you having your kind of face mask on, oxygen mask on, if you like, when the kind of plane's turbulent and at risk, you're not going to be able to reach over and help anybody else. So it really is that kind of important that we put ourselves first around this stuff, and we build up our resilience. And another tool here, I think we've probably got time to do this now actually. So this is another thing around kind of building up that toolkit, if you like, of resilient activities. I'd like you to just take a minute to write down 3 things that spring to your mind after the session. What are the 3 things you would love to do more of that bring you joy? And then list 3 things that you'd like to do that will move you nearer to your purpose, which I think is the really interesting one, because you might know what your purpose is or your calling, but it might be a faint little voice that you kind of put to one side because you're doing other things. And that's the bit that I get excited about when I see people live their purpose. Let's give you a few moments to do that. If you want to ask any questions, I think while people are doing that, you can put some notes in the chat.
I'll just pick up on what Janet said. She said, you've captured all the thoughts that are going on in my head right now, to make a positive choice now and not to wait until you are faced with tragedy.
Yes, that's exactly it. And I think that's for me the interesting thing, because my initial sort of experiences with trauma, were pretty severe. But if it hadn't happened, a bit like the speaker before me, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here now talking to you. So I'm not saying that wasn't meant to be part of my story, but now, although I've had a very difficult sort of month, I know that I can still do amazing things, but not have to go through that awful kind of chaos and crisis. And I think that's the thing. If it's that insurance policy, it's kind of building that resilience around us. We put the car through the MOT, don't we? And we do our house insurance, and we do all of that stuff. We're great at that, but do we really kind of think about building up our resilience for when we need it? Because we all need it. All of us will have these situations. So I'll ask Shelley, is there anyone that's shared anything about 3 more things of joy, or 3 more, any new ones coming through?
Not just yet. I think
That's
people
right.
are having a good think.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anna said she really likes the concept of the joy board.
Yeah, it's great. It's people's eyes always light up when I'm working with people as a coach, and I say, I'm going to do something creative now. Their eyes light up. So I think, in a way, people have talked about creativity today. And I think the same with music as well. I think there's a whole thing around using music in coaching to kind of really get in there and find out who you are.
Okay, we have a few coming now. So Charlotte, doing more art and spending time in nature.
Okay.
Sabina, joy, reading for fun, getting outside in nature and doodling.
Yeah.
Kath, excellent session. I wish I'd had these tools when I was suffering from burnout.
You do now.
Louise, dipping in the sea certainly keeps you in the moment.
Yeah, I should have done that by now. I've been here 4 years in Devon, and I have got all my stuff ready in the bag, and I haven't got it down there yet. But I will do that on my list. I will be accountable for that.
Absolutely. You've said it to all these people now, so yeah, you have to do.
I will, definitely.
Chloe, joy, more adventures in nature, more colourful food and nice coffee.
They're so simple, aren't they? They really are so simple, and things that I think trick is sometimes is we need to slow down and we need to make time.
Oh, I'm a fan of Elizabeth's cake, cake and more cake.
Good, very good.
Oh, Janet, purpose, writing my program, belief in myself and getting started.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, the fact that you're here today and you've been on these sessions and you're inquisitive, that you're fulfilling your purpose, because this is where you should be today. I think that's really, really good.
Kate has asked, anything you recommend to find your purpose?
Be very easy for me just to say coaching, because I don't think you always just need coaching. I think it's about knowing your values. It's definitely around the core values and really getting to grips with what are your core values, and what in the past have you been doing in your life that's really has lit you up. And it's also about hearing your inner voice. I think for me, there's a actual physical feeling about saying about the story that I told. Have a physical feeling when you're moved about something that you hear, or you're in a room where you see something on the telly, or and it feels like a calling. It feels like a draw. If it's something that won't go out of your head. And I think, and partly that journaling bit where we talked about exploration, it's just you've got to have the space and the time to kind of ask yourself be your own coach and ask yourself those questions. What is it that makes me happy? What do I feel really passionate about? What really annoys me? What needs to change? What makes me really want to kind of throw my toys at the pram? So sometimes it's about that. It can be about injustice, but it's and it's trusting your voice as well. I think since doing the coaching, so I started studying, I think it must be 18 months, 2 years ago now. I'm just due to put my last assignment in. And I think I kind of knew a lot of this before I came to coaching, because I did a lot of self-development and reading before I came into this space sort of officially. And if you're interested in learning more about who you are, I really would encourage you to kind of hang out in the self-development book section of Waterstones, or there's some amazing kind of things on podcasts and amazing speakers, and just see where you get drawn, and don't hang on too tightly, because it's good to be drawn to something than trying to make something happen. I think that's my advice on that. Okay, I know we've come to time. Is that all right if I just move on to the next couple of slides? So thank you ever so much for everybody who's contributed through the chat, and I'll be really look forward to reading those after the session as well. So just want to leave you with some food for thought. Positive quotes and affirmations are really, really important to me. And I'm drawn again, I was saying, drawn to inspirational speakers. So one in particular, Marianne Williamson. I went to an event a few years ago, a Hay House publishing event, and she just said this. They weren't her quotes. She kind of just said it in the moment of her speaking, and I wrote them in my pad, and that they're great. Like, what is your door? Live your purpose. I am the universe doing its thing. You know, they are all so good at kind of staying in your head and just checking in with you. Are you doing your purpose? So, you know, please take these and have them. Just as a final, before I sort of ask if there's any questions. So, you know, you can sign up. If you join my mailing list, you get a copy of the slides and the free resilience toolkit, and then the access to the 60-minute coaching session with me. I will leave it on this slide while I ask for questions so you can take down some information there. I do provide one-to-one coaching and mentoring sessions. I do it in chapters of 6 sessions. I do 90-minute Ignite sessions as well, which is blended kind of coaching and mentoring. And I'm a Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway licensed trainer, and I can provide that one-to-one as a workbook, or I can do local groups, which I'll be looking at shortly. So everything's on the website though, so please join me, and I look forward to meeting some of you. Any questions?
Marsha, it's just saying that the QR code has been deactivated.
There we go. Yeah, I thought it looked so nice with my potential logo in it as well. But basically the website is at the bottom. It's linked to the website. So it's www.potentiallife.co.uk.
I have popped that in the chat for you.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, if anybody wants to come off, speak up just the last minute or so and say, you know, ask anything or give any comments, you're very welcome to.
Lots of lovely comments just saying thank you, and I'm going to agree with Lavender. She says, thanks Marsha, you have a very soothing voice, by the way.
Oh, nice. Thank you. That's nice feedback. Not had that before. Thank you.
Just lots of thank yous and great sessions so far. Oh, Emily, thanks Marsha, such a great session. Ready to go find some joy this afternoon.
Excellent. Brilliant. That's great. I've really enjoyed writing, and it's been a journey for me writing this and going back to it and changing it and thinking about it. It looks a lot different to when I wrote it a few weeks ago. So thank you for giving me the space and the encouragement to actually be here today and actually deliver it live. I was still not sure a couple of weeks ago was I Shelley, but I know I really appreciate your support and being here. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Marsha. No, absolutely was what you've said, and it's been really inspiring listening to you, as I'm sure everybody else will agree with me as well, and just sharing your story and yeah, trying myself not to get emotional again because we didn't want any more tears. But yeah, it's just again another fantastic session as always, and we feel so grateful that you've been able to be here with us this afternoon. So thank you, and thank you everyone for joining us as well again. I'm just going to bring up once again my quick intro into our coaching crowd, sorry, in good company Q&A sessions, 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning with Zoe about training to be a coach, and at 12:30 p.m. With Joe about our CPD courses, emotional coaching practitioner training, and our foundations of group and team coaching. The links for those would have been shared with you in some emails that you received when you signed up. So thank you all once again, and a huge thank you to Marsha as well for being here this afternoon. It's been really lovely. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.